Good evening. I would like to call the City Council meeting to order. Today is the 16th of January, and this is our regular monthly meeting of the month. I would like to invite everyone to stand, please, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by myself, and then we are lucky. We have two pastors that showed up tonight, so we are set to start off the evening right. We're pledging first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And tonight we have Pastor Warren Brown from Life Church, and we also have Pastor Brian Hayes from Family Bible. I don't know who's going first, but thank you very much for both showing up. It is a privilege to have you both here at our meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity we have to come together. Lord, we ask for your presence to be here tonight, God. Give us clarity, God. We ask that you bless our leaders, God. Give them the vision to lead us forward, God. We ask that you bless the city of Oak Harbor. God, in every inch of what we do, God, let it be for the great of your glory, God. We ask for your favor and your blessings upon our city workers, our police officers, God. Today, God, let us move forward with the greater vision for the greater good that is in you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Let's join together again as we thank God for this honor of the oath of office. Father, thank you for such an honor that we can bring Officer Jason Perman into the oath of office for the police here. Thank you for his service. Thank you for the service of all of our first responders. God, we thank you so much for leading us and guiding us, and pray that you would continue to do so as we conduct this meeting tonight. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let's be seated, please. In checking the dais, I see that obviously Mayor Severance isn't here. Would someone like to
Excuse him.
excuse him? Do we need a motion or not?
I recommended that we go ahead and excuse him because the statute does seem to incorporate the mayor into the 3 unexcused absences rules.
All right, thank you. Councilman Servadius.
I move to excuse Mayor Severance from the meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse Mayor Bob Severance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Have you had a chance to look at the agenda? Do we have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, it will be accepted. And tonight is a special night. We have an oath of office for one of our new police officers, Jason Perman. Police Chief, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Happy to be up here in front of you, and I'll bring Jason forward. I'd like to introduce Jason Perman. Jason is, I'd like to say our newest officer, but he actually isn't. We have one that just started the academy on Monday, but Jason just graduated from the academy, so he's our newest one on the street. And Jason's going to be working with an FTO program for us for about 2.5 months before he's on his own. Jason got his bachelor's degree from Western Washington University. Served, I just asked him this so I should remember, but it's 8 years in the Army Reserves. He was deployed to Afghanistan for a year, I believe, as part of that. And he comes to us, and we're very excited to have him on here. So we're going to be doing the oath of office, and I think I've done this 3 times since I've been here, and it's a new experience each and every time. We've revised this a little, so maybe it'll go a little smoother. So Jason, I'm going to step over here, have you face me over here. So Jason, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jason Perman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
that I am a citizen of the United States and the state of Washington,
and that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
and the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
and that I will, to the best of my judgment,
and I will, to the best of my judgment,
skill, and ability,
skill, and ability,
truly and faithfully,
diligently and impartially,
perform the duties of a police officer for the city of Oak Harbor, Washington.
perform the duties of a police officer of the city of Oak Harbor, Washington.
As such duties are prescribed by law and ordinance,
As such duties are prescribed by law and ordinance,
and I further swear
and I further swear
that I shall diligently and faithfully
that I shall diligently and faithfully
carry out the lawful directives
carry out the lawful directives
of the duly constituted authorities
of the duly constituted authorities
for the city of Oak Harbor,
for the city of Oak Harbor,
and that I shall abide by
and that I shall abide by
conduct rules of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
conduct rules of the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, great job. And I don't think we could get more perfect than that one, so. So Officer Jason Perman, and we welcome you to the department.
Officer Perman, do you have anyone with you witnessing that's family besides your fellow law officers you'd like to introduce?
I think I used all my family tickets for my graduation at down at CJTC. So
I went there and met his family, and we cleared out like a whole room. It was quite the showing down there.
All right, I would like the council to take a 5-minute break so that we can congratulate our new officers on the street. Thank you.
Fiance who's living, they're down south, they're looking to relocate. I've told them like right next to the station so I can get there like right then.
I will convene our meeting back to order, and we have a community presentation, Oak Harbor Senior Center presentation by Liz Lange. Welcome, Ms. Lange.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Munns and City Council members. I'm excited to be here this evening. This is my first time presenting to you all, so I'm just very excited to be here and serving as your Senior Services Administrator. So I just am here to go over and give you an annual review of the Oak Harbor Senior Center for 2017 and then look forward a little bit to 2018. First of all, I would like to just draw your attention to the invite that I've placed at each of your seats. This is for our art show that we are holding this Friday. It'll be a lovely evening at the center with art that's produced from our resident artists, an art group that meets every Monday at the center. I've seen all the art come in, and it's just fabulous. There's such an array of skills that'll be there. Also, we'll have live music by the Island Jazz Collective and wine and hors d'oeuvres, and it's a fundraiser for the center, and I'd like you all to know that you're invited. So, I need to get my presentation requires a keyboard, so push the button, sorry. All right, so as a way of introduction of who we are over at the center, I'm going to start off with your center staff. A few of these pages were kind of small print, so they are printed out at each of your stations as well, and this is one of those pages. So your center staff, there are 3 center staff members, me being the administrator. I'm from Utah. I graduated from the University of Utah. I formerly worked as the enrichment coordinator at an independent living retirement center in Colorado, and I've worked as a membership and fund development director most recently at a nonprofit in Alaska. So I started as your program coordinator last spring in March, and then in September became the administrator. So Carly Waymeyer, she's our program coordinator. She just joined us last week as our program coordinator. We're very excited to have her. She most recently was working as the enrichment director at Summerhill, and she previously worked for the city of Ellensburg at their senior center as the wellness coordinator. So she comes to us with excellent experience. And Barry is our program assistant. She has been at the center for about a year and a half. So as you can see, we're all a fairly new staff altogether, but we're all very excited to be serving in the positions that we are at the senior center. So your center volunteers, with only 3 of us staff members working, there's no way we could do everything that we do at the center without our volunteers. We have 30 active volunteers, many of them serving anywhere from 3 to 10 hours a week at the center. When we counted up all our volunteer hours, it was an astounding 5,671 hours in 2017. So if you take the Washington minimum wage of last year, which was $11 an hour, that equaled a savings to us of over $62,000 in the time that they worked for us. So by their actions, they're our receptionists. They greet everyone who comes to the center. They answer phones. They process memberships. They answer questions about getting a passport. Then we have our travel escorts who plan and guide the trips. You can see that bottom right picture. The gal standing on the right-hand side is Shirley. She's one of our travel escorts who planned and put together that trip to Lake Whatcom to ride the train there. They plan it, they coordinate it, they guide the trips, and they put in a lot of great time for our travel program. Then we also have people who work at our travel desk signing people up for the trips. So I did list the names of all of our current volunteers there. And I also just wanted to recognize that a few of them are here, if they'll just wave. A few of our volunteers here supporting me tonight, and I'm very grateful for that and for them. We definitely couldn't do everything you're about to see that we do at the center without the help of our volunteers. So now your center members. We have such an active group of adults over 50 years of age here in Oak Harbor. They're artists, they're learners, explorers, athletes, authors. The lady in the picture on the left, that's Linda Lawley. She is part of our art group that meets on Mondays. She just published her 3rd book in the series, the Queen series, which is a children's book in which she was the author and the illustrator. And we hosted a very successful book signing this past year for her at the center. So just some statistics here. We do have 673 current members. These are everyone over the age of 50 who are paid members at the center. And of these 673, 222 of them were new members in 2017, which I think shows some exciting growth. There's definitely some growth for potential members at the center. And out of those 673, a majority of them do reside in the Oak Harbor zip code, have the Oak Harbor zip code. It has been neat to see. We just implemented about just over a year ago a new system, a membership system that allows us to track this kind of information, which we didn't have before. So this is the first year we've been able to pull data from people checking in at the center like you would at a gym with a little membership card. So it'll be exciting next year to then provide you with growth statistics comparing years. But before this past year, we haven't had that kind of data collected, which will be great to be able to show. So next thing I wanted to talk about is where we've been, what we've been doing this year in 2017. It's been a great year, and the first thing I want to talk about in our programs and services is our travel program, because it is one of our main or most widely used services at the center is our travel program. So you can look, I also set there for you our newsletter. This is a quarterly brochure that goes out to members that's produced by us at the center. And inside of it, you'll see examples of all of the services and classes and events, but also the travel that we have these upcoming months. So last year, we hosted 72 tours locally in Washington, 4 trips to Canada, 1 cruise to Alaska, and a tour to Switzerland, Bavaria, and Austria. So on all of these trips, there were 1,230 bookings. And just kind of a fun statistic of our city bus, our senior center bus, drove 9,790 miles. So the average cost of one of our trips, if you were going to sign up as a member for one of our local tours, the average cost is about $41. And you can see our gross revenue there is just over $71,000, and then with all the costs of tickets and the bus expense, our net revenue is just over $24,000 from the travel program. So a continuation of our programs and services. Our mission really is to provide a place where anyone over the age of 50 can find programs, activities, services which support a positive, healthy, and active lifestyle. That's what we're trying to do at the center. So this last year, we put out a survey to our members to kind of get a feel of what's been working for our members and a direction of what they want from us. And so we did receive 188 responses back, both online, and we offered it by paper at the center. So 86% of the members who took the survey were either extremely satisfied and satisfied that we're meeting the mission of the center. And 91% of them agreed with, yes, this is a good mission statement that's in line with the needs of our 50-plus community. And then as you'll see, our top valued programs are travel, activities, exercise, classes, and services. And I didn't list them out here again, but do take the time to just check over this, the newsletter here, and you can see some of the additional services that we offer, some of the main ones being help with insurance benefits. We have a Sheba advisor who's a volunteer who is trained by the state and comes and helps people with health insurance information. And we have tax preparation, free tax preparation through AARP. We offer the AARP driving course. There's a multitude of different services at the Senior Center, which are all aligned here for you. So another part of what we offer the community is passports. We are U.S. Passport Acceptance Agency, and I know that there's some of you sitting here who have been to the center for a passport. So the statistics there are over 1,000 community members have come to the center in 2017 for an application. And of those, 802 of them also had their passport taken, or their passport photo taken at the center. So the revenue for that area at the center is over $37,000. And our partnerships, I just don't even have enough time or slide space to fit all of them on, but I did want to highlight some of the exciting support that we've received from the community at the Oak Harbor Senior Center this past year. And of course, I have to start out with Island Thrift. We have been we have continually received a grant from them on an ongoing basis, which supports us with $1,200 a month. And it's a 2-year grant cycle, so we're going into the 2nd year of that, and we've been asked again to apply for it. Then the Oak Harbor Senior Center Foundation, it's the 501c3 nonprofit. You can see here it's led by Al Cucci and the board members. And the purpose of the foundation is to really also drive financial support, whether from grants or receiving donations that can only be received by a nonprofit that has a 501c3, and also hosting events to raise money for the center as well. Then the North Woodby Senior Coalition, that's kind of a newer group, and it's exciting because it's one that was really headed up by the community members. So Lynn Bankowski and Kathy Phillips, they realized in their professional work that they were running into several seniors in the community who had needs that they didn't know where to find the service to fill that gap in need for them. So they came together and they contacted the Senior Center, and they said, we want to get this group of community members together, working professionals, and figure out where the gaps in services for seniors in our community is, and then find a network to get them all together, right? So Dr. Lange is part of it, and he says, they come in and they ask me for certain help and items that's beyond the scope of a doctor, but I don't know where to send them. So we're working together with these professionals to provide this information to make a cohesive service plan for people. So that's been very exciting. Also, Lynn and Kathy have taken an interest in supporting the center by driving events such as this. This is a Lynn and Kathy Senior Coalition-driven event through the foundation. So they've also seen the need of updating things at the center to make it more welcoming, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The Oak Harbor School District has always been a great partner for us. We have young students that come over, the Student Ambassador Group, and they just recently have been over clogging with our clogging class, or they come over and do games or teach different little classes, and in turn, members from the center go over and help them in their school garden and with other projects at the school, at the elementary school. Also, Superintendent Dr. Gibbon, he's been over to the center and hosted several of our lunch and learns and information there. Looking forward to next year's partnership with them. During our survey, one of the programs that was most requested was tech help. People wanted computer and tech help. So we're working with the library to come in, put on some of their programs, but also some students from the Oak Harbor High School, the FBLA group, Future Business Leaders of America. They're coming over and hosting some tech classes and one-on-one support, which our members are very excited about. The Oak Harbor Library, somebody we continue to work with, and the Skagit, I'm new here and I'm always saying it wrong, Skagit, the Skagit Valley College. We teamed up with them to produce this Coming of Age in an Aging America documentary screening and community informational session, just a time to review the documentary and then talk about what it means in our community to be a livable community. And you can see in the pictures on the right-hand side, we've enjoyed having the mayor over at the center for several activities, and that second picture is taken from the Coming of Age in an Aging America program. And we even got Steve Powers in the photo there in his bright green, can't miss him shirt. But the community members really did enjoy engaging with him and hearing kind of what was going on in the city. So we've really been fortunate to experience great success in partnership with even our city employees. So a few that weren't listed on here but are just equally as important is, of course, Island Senior Resources, who we have a partnership with that we contract for services such as Meals on Wheels, the Time Together Adult Daycare Program, and an information and resource specialist at the center. Also, the Oak Harbor Christian School allows for us to have space for our pickleball club, which is a very popular and growing club, to play in their indoor space. And Whidbey Weekly, who helps us put together and print our monthly publication, the Island Times. If you haven't seen one of those, grab that in the Whidbey Weekly. It's an island-wide senior newspaper. It's really great. It's a production that us, the Oak Harbor Senior Center, and Island Senior Resources put together. Over 3,000 copies are distributed island-wide. And finances. So here's just a look from where we've been and where we're going. It's really great to see in that visual at the top that over 50% of the funds for our budget of this past year came from programs and donations and grants that were generated by the center. And of course, we're very grateful for the funds that come from the City General Fund as well. This is one that I did print for you because they're so small that even on the printed one, it might be a little small here. But it's fabulous just looking at the job that we did working within our budget in 2017, but also exceeding our budgeted revenue expectations for 2017. All right, where we are going, our goals for this coming year, this year that we're in now. Fund development, program and services, and the community. That's what we're wanting to focus on. So for fund development, our goal is to positively impact the financial sustainability of the center. So you can see that our funding comes from the city and donations, grants, and revenue from our own programs at the center. So we're going to work to improve our financial self-reliance by fostering these relationships, but continuing to look for further grant funding opportunities and also doing our own fundraising events. So there's our goals for 2018 as far as fund development goes, which is increasing our grant and donations, establishing new funding sources through community partnerships, and increasing our membership revenue as well. This is a new partnership that we've already received for 2018. PSE, Puget Sound Energy, they have a powerful partnership grant that was awarded. They invited us to apply, and it was our first time applying. And it's a small grant of $5,000, but it's a new partnership for us to establish with PSE, and we're very excited that we've already received word that we're the grant recipient for that on the island. Our programs and services, we want to enhance our member participation through additional contact methods. Just this past year, as many of you have probably noticed in your email inboxes, we've started to use Constant Contact, an email marketing tool to reach our members. A majority of our members do have emails and enjoy receiving those. We want to increase the average number of our daily visits. So in one of those first slides right now, our average number of visits is 50 members per day check-in. So that's not counting any of the community members outside of the members who actually pay the $40 membership and are coming to use member services. So 50 a day of our members, and then in addition, anyone who's coming for any of the college training courses through a technical college that we partner with, which I didn't even talk about that partnership, or any of the other services that don't require our membership. And then we want to work to increase our program offerings. So we'll be implementing new programs based on the survey results from our members and what their desired needs are. And the community. This also is one that I've printed out for you, as it's kind of small here. But we really want to maximize the community usage of the center and its buildings and facilities. I think just lately, more people have been coming into the center, seeing it in the evening for events, and I hear people say, oh, I didn't know you could host something like this here. I didn't know it could look like this. So that's exciting for us. We want more people to be aware of that. So we're working to update the center to be more welcoming and up to date. We just, through funds that were raised through the foundation, just painted the interior of the center, which really kind of gives you a fresh start and an outlook on things, which we're really excited about. Next, we want to exceed community expectations in the delivery of services. I think that the center just has so many offerings that aren't widely known by the community. So it's really up to us to get that information out to the community and let them know what's there for them to use. So we'll continue to work on that. And also, we really want to strive to become the center for our over 50 adult population and the community at large. For services and activities, we want people to think, oh, how am I going to find this information? I'll call the center, right? And we already find that happens a lot, but we are going to work to bring together these community partnerships, which has been really exciting to see happen through the Senior Coalition. It was really neat that when they saw a need, they came to the center and said, can you help us facilitate this? And that's what we want to continue to work to do, to connect community groups who provide services to seniors in the city. So that is my annual review and our look forward to next year. And if you have any questions, then I'm happy to address those.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. And thank you for the volunteers that came to support you. It's always nice to see you in the audience. Thank you for coming.
It is.
All right, next on our agenda is the citizen comment period at this time. At our regular meeting, citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. To ensure comments are recorded properly, state your name clearly into the microphone. Please limit comments to 3 minutes to ensure all citizens have sufficient time to speak. Comments regarding candidates or ballot measures are not allowed under the state law. Individuals participating in public comment are asked to refrain from speaking on these topics during the comment period. And the microphone is open. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment at this time? Going once, twice. All right, I will close public comment at this time. All right, consent agenda. We have items, let's see, A through C. Anybody want to make an adjustment or accept them as they are? All right, we will accept them as they are. All right, now we will go on to mayor, council, and staff comments. And I guess I get to begin. I want to be sure to thank Councilman Tara Heisen for filling in at Mission Ministry Church on Goldie Road. Pastor Fanny Dean had a wonderful celebration of Martin Luther King's life and with the community, and she filled in. Neither the mayor nor I were physically able to make it that day. So thank you very much for stepping up to the plate. Really appreciate your time in that. Coming up this next week are the AWC City Action Days. This is where your council and your mayor go down and we talk to our legislators and say, okay, these are our priorities for our city. This is what we need help with. This is what we're interested in. And so we will all be gone the 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Olympia. The workshop that is normally would happen that week will be on Wednesday, January 31st. At 2 o'clock, from 2 to 5. So if you'll put that on your calendars, please.
Where?
Here in City Hall. And that's all I have at this time. Any of the council members have something you want to add? Councilman Wiesner.
Thank you. I actually had the privilege to go down and do a tour of the treatment plant a couple of weeks ago, and I must say that I was totally opposed against the location of the plant, and still have some apprehensions about it, but it obviously is going in where it's going in at. But I did want to comment both staff and the workers down there, and you know, Joe Stowell, Brian Shelley, the Hoffman crews, the job they're doing to make that look as good as it can be down there, and the efforts they're putting in to make sure that it is a clean smelling facility. You know, it's something that I've tried to keep up with, you know, through the updates here to council, as well as the stuff in the paper, and going down there and seeing it, I could really see the care and thought put into trying to make this something we can be proud of. And I just wanted to comment on that because I've been a little vocal on you know, this whole thing, and just the idea of the tanks being sealed and having a charcoal filter room that is catching everything before it goes to the air, and the appearance issues and the promenade and all the things that are coming together. Looks like it's going to be something that we should be proud of when it gets done.
Thank you. Anyone else? All righty. And our first agenda item then? Oh, city minister, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem. And always glad to get the chance to add some information here at our council meeting. A couple of things for tonight. One is today I emailed out a copy of our draft letter to Department of Ecology. And it is on the different points that staff would like to make regarding their changes to the preliminary draft of the NPDES 2 permit, and that's for the 2019 to 2024 cycle. So what we have is a comment letter we've put together. We have to send this in by the 19th of this month. This draft has all of the staff comments and admin comments and things that we've put together. Kathy Rosen addressed this at our last meeting, and we said we would provide you a copy before it went out. Kathy went through most of the items already, particularly 2 different new sections. that are included in there. We did add some additional things in there. As we went through, we got some comments on the existing permit, because some of the language is just carrying over from one permit to the next. In addition, there is new language in the proposed permit. So we didn't want to pass on the opportunity to maybe give some input to ecology on things in the existing permit, such as proposing an adjustment to our BMPs to allow allowances for differences in precipitation rates. So we found an opportunity to drive that in there and see if we can include those comments as well. That's actually item 1A on that letter. You'll see that in there. But if you have time to do this before the 19th, please take a look on that and give me any comments or calls that you might have if you see something that you might want to include or an edit or anything like that. We'll be glad to take those. But we look at sending that out probably midday on the 19th, both email and hard copy to Ecology. The second thing I have is also at your stations, we should have the packets for our legislative priorities. And Nicole has been doing a lot of work on getting these put together. She should also, I believe, have your travel packets up there, so you should have all those. The legislative priorities, we have our top few that show on the right-hand side of your packet. You should see the listing. And for each one of those items on that summary page on the left-hand side of your packet, we have a one sheet that goes into more specific detail on each of those topics. And if you want to find the items that we would like our legislators to listen about and hear about, if they hear those topics come up, they're on the back side of that summary page. And you'll notice we place them into different categories rather than just having a long, long list of a lot of different things. We've tried to summarize those kind of in a topical basis like that. And that's how we discussed at the workshop on the approach we try to take. So this is kind of the final copy we're looking at taking down to Olympia. I'm going to be sliding in the copy of this comment letter as well, because I am hoping we get the opportunity maybe to talk to our legislative reps about Department of Ecology and some of these stormwater changes. If we're down there and we have an audience, we might as well bring up the things that we can. So that schedule down there, we'll be going down Tuesday night. We will be meeting at the Bud Bay Cafe, and I believe that itinerary is probably in your packets there. So please let us know if you need any travel arrangements or if there's any questions on that. And then finally, my last item, I'm actually going to hand it off to Brett for an update on our clean water facility.
Good evening. It's time for our Clean Water Facility project update. This structure here is actually our new administration building. It's a little different than the rest of our buildings because it's actually wood frame construction. And this facility is actually turning into a little Oak Harbor success story. This structure, when we bid the job for GMP number 11, we bid it and couldn't get any bidders to do the wood frame construction, and we rebid it and we couldn't find anybody to do it again. So we ended up doing it self-perform. Well, Hoffman was not excited about doing self-perform. It's framing and it's not really their bailiwick, but they really didn't have any choice, so we started doing it self-perform. Well, then we got into a long conversation about how to build it, management structures, that sort of thing. And we ended up using one of our concrete foremen as a superintendent for this portion of the work and hiring locally. And that's been a great success story for us because 4 of our 5 framing crew are actually local people from town. And they took this on. This is actually, in terms of wood framing, pretty complex piece of work. They took it on and are really put a lot of skill and hard work into it, and they're really doing a nice job. Also taking the initiative. They're making sure it's done right and making it come through. And so I've really been really proud of the work, and I've got a comment. One of the Hoffman's senior managers was visiting Friday, and he says, those local guys are really knocking it off. We might find some other work for them. But the thing that makes me really happy is we budgeted for 10 guys, and we're doing it with 5. So kudos to our framing crew. Hope they hear this, but they do a nice job. And this is them doing the work. This is a complex structure. It's not framing a house by any means, shape, or form. Recent activities, we are getting ready to advertise the GMP number 13 bid packages, which is the Windjammer Park project. Those are actually advertising on Thursday. We're opening bids. Right now we're scheduling open bids on March 1st, and have some presentation materials for you in April. We're continuing to work on our SCADA software development. That's actually picking up, and there's a lot of work going on in that area right now. And we're also in the process of obtaining our permits for the park project. Construction-wise, the concrete work is starting to taper down. We're still doing a pretty good. The only GMP that we have left to do is number 10. Most of the major pours will be done probably early part of February, and then it'll be mostly cleanup work. We'll be pouring concrete through it, but the major work in there is pretty much done. We're continuing working backfilling around the structures. We are working, a lot of work is going on GMP number 9, which is mechanical, electrical. That's very busy. And number 11, which is all the architectural systems. We're at 105 workers right now. We're starting to decline on that. We'll probably be down to 100 by the end of the month. Continue to work on the self-perform framing, as I showed you earlier. And the masonry guys are going to town. Right now we're doing a lot of the decorative veneer, and it's starting to look pretty nice. The roofing, we have one more building to do. Funding-wise, we are implementing our 2018 loan agreement. That's in process right now, so that should be in our hands pretty soon. And we are pursuing other funding opportunities. We are planning to have a special workshop. I hadn't heard as of this morning if we're going to do it on the 31st or schedule a separate session. We're doing the 31st? Okay. So that's coming up for us. Schedule-wise, this is probably next to last time you'll see this schedule. It's actually becoming obsolete, so we are still very much on schedule, but we're going to start putting more emphasis on the short-term activities as we come to conclusion of this thing. I do want to start telling people that the startup schedule, we don't go just turn on the switch and drive it off a lot. The startup takes several months for us to do, so we'll talk more about that at the workshop, but it's going to be a busy summer with a lot of activities going on. If you want to find out more about the project, you can visit our website at oakharborcleanwater.org. You can call our project cell phone at 914-7000 or our work extensions. You can email us at treatmentplan@oakharbor.org. We do have another community drop-in on January 22nd. If we've had some interest in people wanting to do visits, and we are willing to arrange tours by appointment. So if you know somebody that does want to come out and visit the site, we can arrange something. Questions?
Councilman Ulmer.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Brett, I'm going to ask you the question I ask all the time. What is the production ratio right now?
The production ratio is about 1 for production and about 95% for man-hour laborers.
So you're still staying ahead of that?
Yep, we're staying ahead.
A little bit, okay.
And it's starting to get point where it's getting hard to measure because it's starting to get small.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for our update or for our city administrator? Councilman Heisen.
Thank you. Just a comment on Dr. Merriman's little brief on the one-pager that you guys are taking to Olympia. I'm not able to go this year, and I'll email some of this info out, but I wanted to put out there when you're in Olympia talking to our legislators on the marijuana revenue subject. I dug through the AWC's open data portal, which is fascinating. And little tidbit in terms of revenue sharing, Oak Harbor's one retail marijuana outlet generated $1.36 million in state excise tax revenue last year, and the amount distributed to the city of Oak Harbor was less than $16,000. So 1.36 million we're sending out, and they send back 16,000. Some of that revenue does come back in the form of grants. You know, the behavioral health organization gave the county a $250,000 grant, which we were able to hire some outreach staff for schools, et cetera. But that's still such a pathetic amount compared to the amount of money that we're sending to Olympia. So I'd be happy to get you more info. I will email you guys more info, but I was pretty shocked when I saw those numbers, so FYI.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments? All All right, let's move on to number 7, ordinances and resolution. 7A, ordinance number 1821, smoking and vaping. And Mrs. Sparza is our presenter tonight.
Thank you.
Please, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. This evening, I have ordinance 1821 to present to you. This ordinance came about as a result of concerns brought forward by Councilwoman Heisen, who wanted to see prohibitions on vaping incorporated into our municipal code. When I was looking at our code to incorporate vaping prohibitions, I noticed that we don't have the prohibitions on smoking in public places incorporated into our code. And so this particular ordinance incorporates both the prohibitions in state law on smoking in public places and also the prohibitions on vaping in certain areas. The prohibitions on smoking that we're bringing into our code include not smoking in public places, not smoking within 25 feet of a public place, and prohibiting purchase by minors and the like. The prohibitions regarding vaping incorporate not purchasing vaping products if you're under the age of 18, and not vaping in public places where children are present, like playgrounds, where kids under the age of 12 are present, and daycares, school facilities, things like that. State law preempts the city with regard to vaping, except to the extent where we can go a little bit further when it comes to regulating where children are present. But beyond that, state law does preempt the city. So this particular ordinance does incorporate smoking in public places and vaping in public places as well, places where children are present. So the recommended action is to adopt ordinance 1821.
Thank you. And I will open up for public comment. Anyone from the public would like to make comment on this particular item tonight? Please come and state your name at the dais. I'm guessing there's no takers. I will close public comment and open up to city council. Anyone on council have any questions, comments at this time?
I have a
Councilman Heisen?
Sorry, I need just I do, but I need just a second to review this preemption language.
It's in 7345.
Yeah, I'm on it. I just need to read it. Sales. Okay.
Councilman Heisen?
Thank you. The request, I guess when I was looking at the agenda packet and the materials that we had, I kept looking for an additional piece of paper. I thought something was missing, and I meant to ask you this when you called earlier, Dr. Merriman, but basically what we did was just reference state law in our municipal code.
So that we can bring it in and enforce it.
Right, but which changes nothing. All of the state rules still applied whether it was in our code or not, and the ask was basically to incorporate vaping and e-cigs into the 25-foot smoking in public places rules as much as possible. And while the state does preempt changes to outdoor public places, with the exception of schools, playgrounds, and parks, we are allowed to regulate use indoors. So I guess I'm just confused because this basically changes nothing. Someone could still be out here vaping or in a movie theater, and I mean, there's no indoor public place or city-owned place or anything where I was expecting more.
So we can't enforce it without incorporating it into our code. So now we can enforce it. It is preempted. Everything that is in state law is what we can regulate, with the exception we are allowed to go farther when it comes to outdoor locations where children are present. So we've incorporated all of the provisions in the state law that relate to vaping. My understanding is that the only place we can go farther is outdoor places that involve children, like parks. That's why some communities are prohibiting in parks.
But that's already in the state law, so
Right, but we can't enforce it. If it's not in our code, our officers can't write tickets on the RCWs. We have to have an Oak Harbor Municipal Code to reference to.
Understood. I think Doug knows that doesn't answer my question.
If I can.
Please.
I'll just see if maybe I can help us get there a little bit. So maybe what you're looking for is the exact wording to be put into our code rather than just the reference? Is
No.
that what you're? Okay.
No, I'm saying our code, the reference, it doesn't go far enough.
Okay.
There are things that we can do to further restrict use, and I don't know. I mean, the reason for the request was twofold. One, so it could be enforced and in our code, and there could be some reference on the books, and two, to go farther than the state law does, because we are allowed to do that in some respects. I mean, that was the entire conversation that we had at the workshop. So I thought I already gave an example. Let me see. So there are a number of other municipalities that have added language in terms of vaping. Municipalities that do go farther than the state law. So I'm not sure why we can't. I guess I don't understand why we're just referencing the state law and not adding any restrictions of our own. Is that?
I think maybe what we'd want to do then is, since we have the regular state statutes in here, is maybe we need to have a discussion what those specific, more stringent items would be. We've talked about it some in the workshop.
We did have that discussion.
Yeah.
That's why I'm confused.
But that's where maybe I need to get together with you and say, okay, maybe we didn't catch all of them, so what is there that we want to make sure that we get them in there the way that everybody wants. So just looking going forward.
I'd like to hear, I don't know, what everybody else, am I all by myself up here, or, I mean, am I the only one thinking the way I'm thinking, I guess is what I want to ask.
Councilman Servadius.
Thank you. Well, I agree with Councilmember Heisen. I know when we talked about this and we put up the, for what does the sign say, for our kids' sake, it's been probably 2 years when we last looked at this. We referenced Coopville's ordinance, and they even go as far as referencing smokeless tobacco products, so chew, snuff. And I thought, too, we were headed down maybe not that stringent of a path, but at least reviewing some of their ordinances and not just referencing, obviously, I understand we need to have the state statute referenced in our ordinances to be able to enforce it, but I think where Councilmember Heisen is coming from is what does that look like specifically for Oak Harbor? So I'm happy to pause and take a good hard look at this to make sure we get maybe some more specifics in there, I think is where she's going.
So what you just referenced, the smoking in playgrounds is actually prohibited and being incorporated in this ordinance. So that is incorporated as a part of 7345-150 being pulled in as 6.45150.
Is any of that language in our packet and I'm missing it? Or do you
So-
just reference
No,
the
it's
state
just-
statute?
We're referencing the state statute, which
Okay.
345-150 includes vaping in parks when children are, in playgrounds when children are present.
Okay, I didn't go out and, I see all of them here. I didn't go read all of the individual
Right.
statutes. That's all I have at the moment without having read those to see how encompassing they are.
So I guess my recommendation would be if there are concerns about how far this goes, I would like specific suggestions as to where there needs to be additional work done. At this point, I would recommend passing the ordinance as written so that we pull in those portions of state law and can enforce them. And then we can talk further about what amendments need to be made to that code.
Councilman Alberg, I believe you had a comment?
She answered my question.
Councilman Wassinger.
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously there were some questions maybe that were brought up that weren't addressed specifically about what we can and can't do for regulating the vaping and smoking. But I mean, I would agree to pass this ordinance just to get us on par with what the state statute is and be able to enforce it. And then maybe look more at those specifics. I'd have to go back and look too, and read what is encompassing in the state law, because I too didn't read all of the specific state RCWs. That would be what I would suggest, or what I would be willing to do tonight.
Any other comments from someone we haven't heard from yet? Councilman.
So let me understand, I'm looking at the state RCW, and you said something about the state code does not allow us to go any further when it comes to vaping?
So when it comes to vaping, the state has expressly preempted in the RCWs this particular field. And so it clearly says everything else is preempted other than these things. It tells us that we can regulate beyond the state law only in very narrow circumstances, which include regulating where children are present. So we are limited by the state law in this case. And so that is why at this point the recommendation is to pull in the state law so that we can enforce it.
So follow up, so to understand the background of this, I think it was the council's intent earlier to provide some sort of restrictions for the use of vaping products similar to that of cigarette smoking, specifically where it comes to indoors and within 25 feet of a
Correct.
indoor structure, and it appears as though the existing RCW code only allows a few areas where it's not allowed in indoor places, and what you're saying is we can't add to those lists of indoor places because of the code, the RCW code that allows us to only adopt these things that are currently in the code?
So I don't have the portion of the RCW in front of me that has the preemption part. But when I was doing the work on this, the areas that we can extend it involve kids. And in the RCW that we are trying to pull into our code, it already addresses multiple locations with kids, including daycares. The premises daycares are on schools, 500 feet of schools, parks, or places, playgrounds where children under the age of 12 are, things like that.
Final question. I see it goes so specific as to talk about if any one or more persons under age of 12, for example, are present in a playground. So it could be thought that just by having one child inside of a building, that could be carried over for that type of a regulation. I mean,
That's not a playground under the definitions in state law.
okay, so that's only allowed for outside facilities where we can pick that nomenclature up. We could not transfer that to
the
an
extension.
inside facility. The fact that a child's inside of a building could allow us to carry that over, or?
So that's something I can't answer off the top of my head because I'm not sure that it doesn't already prohibit vaping in certain other locations that we're already bringing into the code. I don't have the RCW in front of me right now, so I can't answer that for you tonight.
That's all.
Any other questions? Councilman Heisen.
Just, I mean, synopsis, the state law says schools, 500 feet of schools, school buses, elevators, and parks when children are present. That's basically as far as it goes, period. I might be missing one or two things. Childcare facilities, thank you. Snohomish, King, Pierce, Grant, Clark, Whatcom, they have all passed ordinances regulating public vaping in parks, period, restaurants, other businesses, basically any indoor place where a child might be present. So if they were able to do that, I feel like we should be able to do that. That makes sense to me. I would absolutely agree that we need to pass this ordinance tonight so that we at least have a municipal code that echoes the state language. But I would definitely like to revisit that workshop and some of the examples we got from Island County Public Health to see what else we can do.
Okay. Any action? Councilman Walsinger.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1821 as presented.
All right, it's been moved by Walsinger to adopt ordinance number 1821 and seconded by Councilman Alberg. Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Any other comments?
I move to adjourn.
It's been moved to be adjourned.
Second.
Second, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Good job.